Well, hello, and welcome to Landscaping Southwest Television. I'm Kristine Cornils, and we're going to show you how to transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. The Southwest region is unique with its extreme temperature changes, the abundant sunshine, and limited rainfall. Therefore, landscaping can be somewhat more challenging in this area than in other wetter regions of the United States. So on this show, we will be talking with experts who are experienced in successfully landscaping the Southwest. We want to help you create that beautiful outdoor space you've been dreaming about. Join us today on Landscaping Southwest. Well, welcome to Landscaping Southwest Television. On this episode, we're going to get a chance to talk with Judith Philips, who is a local landscape designer. Judith, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, but and she's actually was with us for a few shows on last season, on season 1 of Landscaping Southwest. And tell us a little bit about your company, because you're with Design Oasis. That's your landscaping company?
I pretty much am Design Oasis, and I think of it as ecosystem-based design. So I consider where a place is and the people that are going to be using it, and try and design a landscape that they're going to be comfortable in, but that also is going to work well in this climate. And because a lot of times people just don't make the connection between, actually quite a few of my clients are new here, but...
Oh, new to the Southwest area?
New to the Southwest, but,
yeah.
But even people who have lived here for a while, it's been changing a bit. It's hotter in the summertime, and we get these cold flashes in the wintertime that...
Yes.
So I spend all my time sorting out how to make that work here. And I think one of the great things about the plants that are adapted here is that some of them are very soft and muted in their silver leaves and that sort of thing, paler green foliage, but the flower color is just so vibrant, so you can have a really brilliant garden.
You have a book coming out this year too. What is that?
Yeah, yes, I do.
I'm eager to see it.
After much.
I imagine it takes a long time to write these. Yeah.
Well, Growing the Southwest Garden is the name of the book, and it'll be out in June. Timber
Great.
Press is the publisher, so I'm really excited about that because it really is about dealing with changing climate. I consider it to be, we've always lived in a climate of extremes.
Yeah.
And the extremes are becoming more extreme.
So what are some of the topics in that you tackle in the book?
Well, just ways of, plant choices, and then ways of making the hardscape or the paving and the walls, and actually work with the plants to create a space that's an outdoor living space. So the great thing about having hard surfaces using for patio space and walkways is you can drain the rainwater off into trees that shade those hard surfaces and cool them down, and so you don't have this really heat-intensive space that you've created.
Right. When we come back, Judith is going to share with us some more information about the different climates. We're actually filming at Pat Hurley Park on the west side of Albuquerque, and so we're going to get a chance to actually see the city of Albuquerque and look and investigate kind of those different climates that are all throughout, from the west side to the east side, and how that impacts your plant choice and also just how you design your yard as well. So great. Please stay with us, and we'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Great. I'm glad we got to talk about it. Yeah, growing gardens. Well, I am holding an Oya, which is an ancient form of irrigation. It's a clever way to conserve water, and John Bolton of East Central Ministries is going to explain to us what is an Oya and how does it work?
So it's porous clay. We fire it without any glaze and just at the right setting so that water will sweat through it. Once you fill it with water, water will sweat through to the roots of your plants.
And how often do you have to refill it?
Roughly 24 to 48 hours for the water to drop through.
Can you show us actually an Oya in action?
Sure, so we just planted these the other day. This is one that we just put in.
I can see it's all wet around here.
It is. So we filled it with water about a day and a half ago. So we buried the Oya about 3/4. We're kind of up to the neck so that the neck is exposed for easy access of pouring water into it.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And you can get more information about how to use Oyas and how you can use it in your yard at landscapingsouthwest.com. Well, welcome back with Judith Philips with Design Oasis. And Judith, tell us about the microclimates that we experience here in Albuquerque. What are they and what drives them?
Well, it depends partly on what part of town you live in. We're now on the the West Mesa, kind of perched up above the valley, and so the soil is generally it's either sandy or clay loam. So it's actually usually holds moisture pretty well, except for the really sandy soil, but it also drains well, and then in the valley, because of the
down closer to the river,
yeah. Because of some of it is farmland, old farmland, and so the weed seed populations there are generally higher, and so managing weeds can be more challenging in the valley. And also because of the bosque, the bird populations will bring you gifts to your garden that normally you wouldn't have.
Well said, yeah.
Just the opportunity, I mean, that's one of the great things about the Southwest is the opportunity for still seeing all kinds of wildlife, especially bird life and butterflies in your backyard is just tremendous. So you can almost kind of clock the seasons by them. But the soil in the valley is heavier clay usually. There are pockets of sand also where the drainage is good, but overall it's going to be a more clay soil, and plants that really prefer well-drained soil. When you read descriptions of plants, they are going to have to be, if they're used in the valley, they're going to have to be watered more carefully. And then once you get up to actually downtown and then starting to go up to the East Mesa, the soil there is decomposed granite that's washed off and blown off the mountain, but it's the most finely eroded, and so it's going to be more clay-like, and it's going to kind of cement together when it's dry. When it's wet, it's fairly permeable. The issue in the core of the city and on any new construction is the soil compaction. The machinery that's used to create building sites really presses the air and all the microorganisms out of the soil. It essentially kills the soil, and so part of the first part of starting a garden in that situation is rebuilding the soil. Even for native plants, and arid adapted plants, it's just loosening up the soil. You don't have to add anything to it, but you do have to loosen it up so there's more oxygen in the soil, and then those microorganisms that are going to support the plants will move in once the soil is more oxygenated. Anything probably from downtown east, sparks are going to fly when the soil's dry when you try to get a shovel into it, because there's so much granite material there that it really is rocky, and it kind of cements together. But once it's moistened and once it's loosened up, plants grow really well in it, and it holds moisture very well. That also involves temperature, though, the microclimates, and people a lot of times think of microclimates in terms of temperature, and where we're standing here is much windier and more exposed.
Yeah, up on the west side.
Up on the west side, and because the soil is lighter, it tends to blow around, and in the spring will abrade new plantings down to pulp. So
Oh my goodness.
protecting plants from the wind is, I think it's, you plant when you have the time and can maintain the plants to get them started. The ideal time for starting planting in the Albuquerque area is probably mid-March on, and in mid-March it's for the plants that really prefer slightly cooler temperatures, and then for plants that are heat and drought adapted, it's really from May on, they transplant the best.
So it's not necessarily there's one time that's planting season, is it?
No,
And does it matter if it's windy or not if I'm planting? I hear, we hear that a lot of concern of whether to plant in the wind or not.
Well, there are all kinds of things you can use to buffer the wind. On new plantings, just pockets of new plantings, shade cloth is a great tool to use. It breaks up the flow of the wind, but a tarp would just flap up and down and beat things to death. The shade cloth will lift in the wind and settle back down.
So what's the variation in temperature across Albuquerque, across those areas we were talking about?
Well, the wind makes it feel cooler. So generally, though, in the fall or spring and fall during cooler weather, the valley will be cooler at least overnight than the foothills and the mesa is, because cold air is heavier and it drains down and settles in the low spots. And it depends on where the storms are coming from. If we've got storms that are coming down the east side of the mountains and blowing through the canyon, then sometimes that area that's blasted by canyon winds is going to be colder than the rest of the city is. And so gardening in your own home garden, working there and looking at how plants respond is one of the ways to figure out. And just moving around in the garden, if you go out early in the morning and go out midday, and you get a sense of where the warm spots are and where the cool spots are. The bigger the garden, the more there are going to be several microclimates in that garden. Generally, the west side of the and the south side of the building is going to be the hottest place, and any place where there's paving, because the heat will be reflected in the summertime, particularly. The heat will be reflected back off the paving on the plant.
Yeah, well, Judith, thank you so much for going through all those different things. It's amazing how much you have to pay attention to. You can't just say, I'm from Albuquerque and I want to plant certain plants. It's knowing all those different things, the soil, where you are, the microclimate of your area, just how important that is. Well, great. Well, please stay with us on Landscaping Southwest, and we'll be right back. Great.
Did you know that you can put your dryer lint into the compost? Yep, you can. So what I do is I keep this bin, and you can see it, I keep this bin in the washing machine room with my dryer, and I fill it up, and when it gets full, I put it in my compost bin. You can also put dog hair and other materials like that. Any natural materials, fingernail, hair, dryer lint, coffee beans, tea, all that can go in your composting bin. It's quite simple. And it keeps it out of the trash. My name is Jill Brown, and I am here as your landscape coach for Landscaping Southwest TV. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about composting and some easy tricks for composting in your home kitchen. So one of the things that we all are probably familiar with is composting in the bins that you buy at Target or different stores, and they sit on your countertop. Well, those never worked for me because I fill them up super fast with my kitchen scraps, and I'm always having to bring them outside to dump them out. So instead, I got myself a large trash can. Super simple. I can put my composting in here, as easy as pie, and I'm ready to bring it outside. Now before I bring it outside, one of the most important things in New Mexico for composting, and in any place in the arid Southwest, is to keep your compost wet. So a simple trick that I do before bringing it out is I'll fill it with water. Now, of course we don't want to waste water in the arid Southwest, so I always use water that I've collected from the kitchen, either while turning on the hot water, waiting for the hot water to come, or using a barrel from my shower where I wait for the hot water to come, and that way none of the water goes to waste.
Well, welcome back to Landscaping Southwest. Nigel Nallen of Landmark Landscapes is going to show us one of his finished projects that you worked on over the winter. Is that right?
Absolutely. We started this project right around the 1st of December and got it wrapped up about the middle of January. The show was on winter holiday.
Yes, we were.
Me and my crew took a winter holiday as well for a week. But other than that, we've been working on this rather small backyard with a really big surprise.
I'm really excited because Nigel said that there's several really unique features about this backyard. And will you show it to us?
Let's check it out.
All right.
Isn't this something?
It gives you a whole peaceful feel just walking back here. And you have so many different areas set up too.
There's a lot going on with this yard.
Oh, Nigel, this is just gorgeous.
There is so much to this yard, and it's such a dramatic transformation from what it was before.
What was it?
It was a typical builder's spec yard. This is a brand new house. It was built maybe a couple years ago, and it's in the same neighborhood that we did our pondscape in.
Oh, yes, yeah. Actually, probably just a few doors down, I guess, right?
Down. This had a small square concrete pad. It had a whole bunch of grass. It didn't have much personality. And the customer really wanted some place to be outdoors and entertain and create an outdoor room.
Right.
She and I had discussed this beautiful patio extension. We discussed maybe a fire pit. And then we discussed also doing some of these curving pathways or something to that effect. And we had kind of a Asian modern idea kicking around between us. And it was right when we started the project that she said, you know what? Why don't you build like a wall with water trickling down it, like a water wall? Immediately, I started picturing in my mind where it would be positioned,
okay,
what it would look like, what the shape of it would be. She mentioned to me that the sound had to be a very delicate sound, like a rainfall sound instead of like a waterfall sound.
Right. And it's just something where she can turn it on with a switch and it
simple switch
goes on.
And there's actually, underneath this decorative brown rock is a 500-gallon reservoir that's tilted, and we have a 5,500-gallon per hour pump.
Oh my goodness.
There's a little access panel actually right here in this area where if she clears
underneath the rock, okay.
She can pull the metal grate out.
Right.
And she's got access to her pump and everything that she'd need to do there. And then that pump pumps through a 2-inch diameter pipe, which actually flips outside, and you see there's a little red valve to do a pressure release and actually drain the pond.
Okay. It's just, I can't help it. Is it okay if I That's beautiful. This is a lot of material you had to put in here, and I noticed you also have a place where she can plant some plants behind it.
Little planter on the top.
That's really nice.
One of the more unique features about this water wall, and she'd mentioned very strongly a planter on the top. So this is actually a functional retaining wall, solid filled 8-inch concrete that we veneered with the pavers to give it this kind of tiled, smooth look.
Right.
Then around the back is this garden wall effect.
Well, and while you've been explaining about the water wall, is that what you're calling it? I love that. I've been feeling the heat from the fire. Yeah, this is really nice.
It is. Without the smoke and everything else.
Oh, sure.
The weight is perfectly centered against this backdrop. And it's perfectly centered as you walk through her house. You can see this fire flickering from her living room.
Oh, straight from inside,
bedroom. And the water wall and everything. It's just
and I also noticed your signature lights. You do so well with just the whole atmosphere of the yard. I mean, this is just gorgeous.
We did a lot of LED lighting and uplighting And then we used a lot of flowering perennials in that middle section there. I've got to call attention to it because
Yes.
the homeowner started calling it Party Island.
Here, do you want to walk over there?
Let's check it out. So here we are at another centerpiece, nice focal point, and unfortunately, we're not 2 years from now when I can show you how this is all going to be filled in.
Well, maybe we'll have to come back then. We'll have
Maybe
to write that
so.
down and remember that.
I've planted 20 plus flowering perennials just in this little area.
Wow.
And I've spaced them such that they're going to be filling in, and this is going to be a riot of color. We've got reds and purples and blues. This should be the type of yard that she hardly ever has to actually do any work on. But she'll have flowers and waterfall and fire pit.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nigel, thank you so much. Congratulations to you and your crew, too. This is beautiful.
Thank you. This is really an achievement for us. I feel very excited about this project, and I think this is kind of the look of things to come.
I can see why. Oh, that's fabulous. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Yeah, it's just nice. Nigel, this is just beautiful. And what kind of work is it required to maintain the water wall?
Now, as I've mentioned on previous episodes, water features in general, customers have to expect that there's a good bit of maintenance that goes along with them.
Sure.
But in this case, the maintenance that I'm looking at on this one is about every 3 months, which is not too bad.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So with our underground reservoir being covered by this rocks, you don't have to worry about the algae. And without having to try to keep fish in a living biosphere, you don't have to worry about a lot of other things.
Right.
The major concern about this project was hard water buildup on the surface of the pavers. With all this dark surface, you know that it's just begging for calcium to build up with water flowing over it.
Sure.
And there's actually a product that you can buy at a lot of pond stores that we're using in this, and we've used it from the very first time we ran it. It's just a calcium reducer for water, and you add it in an initial dosage, and then you add a monthly dosage of it to the water itself, and it will help prevent, and in some cases can even remove hard water stains from fountains. And another thing you have to consider is you want to drain your fountain about every 3 months and put in some fresh water. So once every 3 months, you attach a hose to this ball valve with the T, and you turn it on and you turn the fountain on, and the pump will just drain the whole reservoir out, and you can control the water and discharge it wherever.
Oh, so she could use it to water the plants she has in her front yard then?
That's true.
Or even some of these plants that she has.
She could, if it's not too dirty, because
okay,
like
you don't have to worry about that,
can also attract dust, and every time you flip on the water, you're going to just be adding a little bit of dirt.
Right.
So I'd probably discharge it someplace where you don't mind a little mud or dirt. Also, because of there is a fountain pump involved, occasionally, and frankly, it's been my experience about every 2 to 4 years, or sometimes 1 year if you're not very lucky, you've got to replace the pump.
Oh, okay. And how easy is it to access the pump then?
It's very easy. That's the good news, is this has a little trap door built in. You just push the rock aside and you pull up the trap door, and you've got your pump right there. And I've also set the pump into the whole floor of this slopes kind of like the fish pond did.
Yeah, okay.
And it all slopes towards the pump.
Right.
So that it's essentially a self-cleaning pond.
I hope we get a chance to come back and actually see some of the flowering plants you planted as well too. So
this is a contemplative garden, and it's a very special place. This customer really wanted someplace that just had an amazing feel to it, and I think we hit it.
Well, great. Well, congratulations again to you and your crew. Please stay with us and join us again next time on Landscaping Southwest as we help you transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. See you next time. This is definitely beautiful. This is just gorgeous.
I'm rolling.
Yay! All right, yeah.